This is The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. Whether you're a seasoned real estate expert, a first-time home buyer, or if you're simply passionate about hearing small business stories, this is the podcast for you. Join us as we dive deep into the world of real estate and beyond.
Welcome to The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. This is episode 15, and today we are talking all about new builds. I am your host, Janine Igliani, and I have two co-hosts today. Super excited. Ryan Hatcher and Mondai Adair. Thanks for joining us. So Mondai, you guys, is sort of newer to our team, but she comes to us with a wealth of experience, and her husband actually is in the new build business. So she is a perfect co-host for us to have today. And we're going to talk all things new builds, which I'm so excited about. Especially here in the East Valley, there's so much building going on. We're still definitely behind in terms of where we need to be, but there are a lot of options. And for us in the real estate business, we have clients all the time that consider both, right? They consider resale, they consider new, and there are pros and cons to going with a new build. And so we're going to break it all down for you today. We're going to give you all the tips, everything you need to know, so that if a new build is the way that you want to go, you're going to be set up for success. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Ready to do it? All
I
right.
love it. I love this subject too.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about.
Well, and I bought a new build. You bought a new build. You're
currently
Working on it.
yes.
Yeah.
So Mondai, let's talk about you and kind of talk about your husband and what he does. And I think in particular, your community, which we're so excited about.
Sure. And we are very excited. So we're set to close next month in June. We are closing on a new home in Barney Farms, which is out in Queen Creek. It's a Fulton Homes community. So Fulton Homes is a local builder, and they are well renowned throughout the valley for making top homes, but also within master plan communities that have a lot of the amenities for families and functions, and also for gathering spaces and socials. And they're just, they're unique communities throughout the valley. So
Can I add too, I think Barney Farms is one of the prettiest communities out there. It is gorgeous with a lake and all that it offers. The design from the parks, the pool is amazing. Mm-hmm. It really is a beautiful, gorgeous community. And one of the things I love about Barney Farms is you have a variety of homes, right? You have homes that would be perfect for maybe a first-time home buyer. You have a variety of sizes, and then you have the new subdivision that just opened, if you want to share about that.
So with Barney Farms, they do have 4 separate collections within 4 different phases. So they're in the first phase. They just opened the largest series, which is the Fields. So like Janine had mentioned, they have 4 series. It starts in the Meadows, and those are priced mid to high fives. And then the Fields just opened up, and they are starting at base price in the low mid 8s.
Nice.
So
nice.
A wide range. And what Janine was mentioning about with the community, it is unique. It is being marketed as the jewel of Queen Creek because of all the amenities. The amenities are also, our HOA is also unique. So with the HOA, we are with CCMC, which is the HOA for a lot of the top master plan communities throughout the valley. So we have the community pool, the community clubhouse, which will be the lake. So there's a large lake and a deep water lake for deep water fishing, kayaking, canoeing. So it's going to be a
unique,
very active.
because not a lot of the communities that have lakes, you're not allowed to go and canoe or kayak on them. So that's a unique feature of Barney Farms too.
Correct. So it is unique. We also have a lot of the functions and socials and the events. It's a lot of green space. They had planned the community so that there's a 2-mile walking path trail for biking, walking. So they want it to be an active social community.
Yes. And 2 things I want to say. Number 1, there are a couple waterfront or water view lots
There are.
available. Amazing.
There are.
Where in Arizona can you get that? It's rare. And then number two, one of the things I love about CCMC that Barney Farms has really embraced is the idea of lifestyle and community events. And I think that is, I mean, obviously that's the heart of our business, right, Ryan, is those community events and bringing people together. And Barney Farms is on board with that, which I absolutely love, because that's going to make where you live even better when you get to go out, meet your neighbors, and you guys are already doing fun things.
We are. We have the community HOA. She's a lifestyle director, and she's putting on some great events already for neighbors meeting neighbors, for socials. But it's really, she's really building a great community out there too.
I love that. Well, and you get to be a part of it too Monday, which is super cool.
You hosted an Easter egg hunt.
I did.
Right?
So we had Santa. I hosted Santa Claus,
That was
meeting all the
awesome.
kids. We had we have socials with murder mysteries. We have potlucks, Halloween. So we plan a lot. We're planning on a lot of future fun activities.
How fun. Well, that was like a great commercial for Barney Farms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did a team outing and went and checked out a lot of the models and the amenities, and it's amazing. It may be my favorite neighborhood so far.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So,
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's jump into new builds, because if you're going to live in Barney Farms, as of right now, there aren't any resale homes available. You're going to be buying new. There are several communities throughout the East Valley and the West Valley. West Valley is really growing with new home communities as well. And we're seeing clients that are moving to the West Valley because of these beautiful new home communities. So let's jump in. And first off, I thought it'd be really fun to share maybe just a few of our pros and cons to buying new build. Why should you consider a new build, and why shouldn't you? Because is a new build right for everybody? So who wants to go first?
I got that.
All right, let's go, Ryan.
So a lot of people are wondering, is it worth getting a new build? Well, one of the biggest things that makes it advantageous is everything's new. So your roofing system is new, your HVAC, those are two of the biggest expenses you're going to have in a house in Arizona. Versus buying a home that's 10 to 20 years old, you're going to have to start thinking about those costs over the next couple of years. I mean, water heaters, all appliances, your flooring, everything. And if you build the home and it's not a spec home, whereas you get to go to the design center or you get to pick out a lot of the items, you are literally picking the floor colors and materials and those types of things. So you can really personalize your home. If it's a spec home, that basically means the builder is choosing all of those things, and then you come and buy it as is. And usually you're purchasing it 2 or 3 months before it closes. So you just wait for it to close, and then you get a new house.
So you gave us 2 tips right there, 2 pros, I would say, to buying new build. First one is that you're getting brand new. Everything is brand spanking new. You're the first to use it, which is hugely advantageous for the life of the home itself and forecasting future repairs and all of that. That's number one. And number 2, you get to pick what you want. So the features of the home, from the tile to the even structural options, right? How many bedrooms do you want to have? Do you want that to have a bathroom? And all of those fun things you get to personalize. That's a huge benefit.
You can convert a 3-car garage into a bedroom or a bigger master bedroom closet or something.
Right, depending on the builder and the options.
Right.
Monday, what do you have for us?
Well, just to add on to Ryan's, you could also pick your lot.
Yeah.
So within the community, there's different lots. So you might have views. You might have a green belt that you're backing with no neighbors. You might have a park sitting next to you. So with the new build, you can also pick your lot.
Yeah, that's fun. And some people prefer north-south. Some people prefer east-west. Bigger lots, smaller lots, right? Bigger backyard, not a big backyard, right? Being able to personalize all of that. How fun.
Right. So others is with new build, you've got greater energy efficiency. So you've got the latest technology with windows. Windows are huge here in Arizona because it does get heated, and those windows can save you a lot on utility bills.
Sure.
And
Also, insulation, and also how they insulate the attic, because some builders will insulate the attic, some will insulate under the actual roof tiles. So it's important to know how your builder is insulating your attic, because there's builders that will insulate it so well that your attic will actually feel like the interior of your home,
Which is amazing. Yes.
So
Which means your air conditioning
Yeah.
system is not going to be on quite as
Working
much in
as
the
hard,
summertime.
yeah.
absolutely. So so that's major plus. It's more the utility cost and energy efficiency.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that.
One disadvantage I'll throw out there.
I was going to say, let's talk
Yep.
about the
Okay.
cons.
So in
Why
most,
wouldn't you? Right? Because it's maybe not for everybody.
Right.
Why would you not go new build?
Yeah, one of the major disadvantages if you're building and you need to move or you want to get into your new home is sometimes you have to wait 8 to 10, 12 months for the new build to take place and to be ready to move in. So that's one of the biggest disadvantages, unless again it's a spec home, and then you can get in pretty quickly. Another disadvantage is you're going to have other costs associated with it that you may not really anticipate. So for example, most track home builders they leave the home with completely dirt backyards. And in Arizona, dust is a problem. And so you really need to do something with that or you're going to have dust everywhere. So that's an added expense. And that even if you don't have a pool, that could be tens of thousands of dollars of added cost. Whereas if you bought a resale home, that's typically already done. Okay. Even little things like window treatments. A lot of builders don't add window treatments in the closing. It's not even an option. So we had to spend quite a bit extra money to get window treatments, and we did plantation shutters. There are a lot of different options. Ceiling fans. None of the rooms in our house had ceiling fans. So that was another couple grand in added expenses. So those are some that I thought of. What do you guys have?
Well, and that kind of goes to a lot of what people don't realize. And you kind of touched on this Monday just a bit ago when you were talking about base prices of homes, right? When you buy brand new, you have that base price, but then you have the cost of your options. And depending on the builder and what they include and what they don't include, you could be looking at 5%, 10%, up to 20% on top of that base price, which can be
Yes.
really significant. And sometimes people don't figure that in the total pricing. And that happens as the process moves on. Different builders will require different deposits up front and different deposits along the way to account for some of those options. So you got to take that into consideration, that it's not just the base price of the home, but you're going to have the cost of options on top of
Well,
it.
and let me say this. So in our experience, when we were in the design center for our home, we got to $70,000 very quickly without even talking about some of the fun stuff. This was mostly structural things or electrical things that we wanted to add that were not part of the base package. So that can get up there pretty quickly. And then the better you're prepared for that meeting, and we can spend 20 minutes talking about just the design center and maybe we will in the future. We'll do a video on that. But what that looks like and how you can prepare better to be ready so you can make these decisions and you can have an idea what this should cost or what can I do later after we're in the home and I don't have to have the builder do it.
Right, correct. And a lot of what we prepare for is you start with base pricing, and then you have to add your lot premium. So depending on your lot, whether it's it could be, again, views or a green belt or just a typical center lot, your price, it depends. Your pricing will depend on where the lot's located. So you have to add that. But what I typically tell my clients is just add 15 to 25% on top of that base price to cover your total cost of the home.
So essentially, lot premiums are arbitrary numbers that builders come up with to charge you for a specific lot. So if it's an interior lot with a bunch of houses around it, it may be $2,000, it may be $8,000. But if it's a premium lot on a corner that backs to a lake, that could be $80,000 depending
Or a couple
on,
$100,000.
Yes. So what's the highest you've seen?
Well, there are some beautiful lots out at Barney Farms on the lake. They're facing the beautiful clubhouse because at night it's lit up. It looks like a resort in that community. 300,000.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
300,000
You could buy another
for one of the
house with
lots.
that.
Yeah. But it's,
Wow.
it's a
But you
gorgeous.
think about it, not all lots are created equal. And when we're reselling a home, that plays into our pricing as well,
Sure.
is
Right.
where's that lot located? So that's a valuable number to know.
So personal experience again, when we were looking for our house, this was back when the market was so crazy that you were actually in a drawing to get selected. And we were in the second phase of drawing. So the second month into it, there were 4 lots available, only one of which we wanted because it had one neighbor. There was nobody behind it or to this side. And luckily we got picked third out of the 37 names in the hat, and we got to pick it. But that's a huge piece. Do you have neighbors directly behind you? Because that's not always popular for people. So
yeah, for
things
sure.
to think
And who's going to be around you too, right? You may be building a single story home and you're not going to want to be surrounded by 2 stories. So that's also important to know. So just, all of those questions, which kind of leads me, well, first of all, before I move on, Monday, what else? Anything else that you would say in terms of things to think about that maybe could be seen as a con to buying, why someone wouldn't choose to buy a new build?
Right. So one of the largest cons is there's no firm commitment on a close date. So there could be delays with construction. There can be delays with supplies, like we've seen the past couple years where we've had a shortage of lumber, appliances, even as simple as electrical boxes that you put your light switches in. So we've seen a delay that has caused building to go from 6 to 9 months to 12 to 16 months out.
You personally experienced
We
that, right?
have.
Where your closing dates continually getting bumped.
We have. We started the new build process back in February of 2022. So we're looking at 16 months to build, only because of the supply, the shortage of supplies.
So what most people don't know is that new build construction agreement from the builder says they have 2 years to get it done.
Correct.
So they may give you a date, 8 months down the road, but they're not necessarily obligated to get it done by then. So
Well, and
important
that's
to know.
not necessarily true with all builders. You have to read there somewhere it's completely open-ended. It could be never-ending closing date because they allow for world events, shortages, pandemics, and so it
I
could
wonder
just
how
be
new that is.
open-ended.
Yeah, I wonder if that's
Open-ended.
changed recently even.
Open-ended.
It's just more for
Yeah.
So you just got to read your contract. And so all of this that we're talking about kind of leads me to my next point, in that what we're sharing is based on experience. It's based on walking the process personally, but walking it over and over and over with clients. And through that experience, we've been able to really gain some great tools in our tool belt to help our clients that are considering new builds to really set them up for success. At the end of the day, that's what it's about, is looking out for our clients' best interest to make this process that's already going to be stressful and bumpy as smooth as possible. So I thought this would be a great time for us to talk about, why should you have a realtor? What are the benefits of bringing a realtor with you when you go to buy a new build? Do you need to have a realtor?
You hit this one.
Yeah. I think, first of all, buyers may have a misconception as to how we get paid.
I love that.
And then also a misconception that they're going to get a better deal if they don't use a realtor. And that is not the case, because the new builds, they do have a marketing budget. And this is just with any good business, you're going to have that marketing budget. So with our compensations, you're not going to get a better deal if you don't use a realtor, because our realtor fees are with the marketing. And the new builds, the builders, they do want us. They want the realtors to help them with finding good buyers, because we are one of their main marketing sources with bringing people to them to see their communities. So they want to pay, they do protect us. So that is a misconception that you're going to save money if you're not using a realtor.
Yeah. So let me just restate basically what you stated, Mandy, because I think it's so important. And I think it's a really popular misconception out there that if you are going to buy a new home and you want to have representation, the thinking or the misconception is that that commission could affect the price of the home positively or negatively, because then the builder is now saying, well, I have to pay your realtor. And what the truth is that that realtor commission is paid out of their marketing budget. It has absolutely nothing to do with the cost of the home. It's completely separate. And to your point, any good builder is going to encourage you to have representation, because the builder reps are working for themselves and for their best interest. And having someone that can represent you, that has that experience, that can walk you through it, is going to be beneficial to them too, right? It'll make that process go more smoothly. I would say in my 10 years, there's been a handful of times that everything in that new build process from start to finish has gone smoothly. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. Yeah. And it could be at various points in that process where I have to step in on my client's behalf and work with the builder to resolve some sort of issue. Things happen, things come up, right? You yourself, Ryan, had an issue. Do you want to share about that?
Yeah. So we went through the design center and came out with the understanding that we had completely taken care of our kitchen. So we wanted the cabinets and all the drawers and the doors to be soft close and taken care of, because I didn't want to have to spend any more money outside of, out of my own pocket afterwards to do that. The flooring was a different story. We can talk about that another time. Well, when the cabinets were installed, the drawers were not soft close. And that was a big deal because I've got kids and they're slamming these things and they don't last as long. They're not the same level of quality. And so I went back to the builder and I talked to them about it. And long story short, they weren't going to correct it because they said that's what I had ordered. And I said, that's not what we ordered. And that's not what we understood from the design center. So long story short, what I would say is, had I not known how to handle that, and we talked about it at length, then today I would not have soft close drawers in my home, and we do. Mm-hmm. So that is a huge reason why you need to have somebody representing your interest. So a lot of times realtors can make the builder kind of out to be the bad guy. They're not. I think for the most part, builders are trying to do a good job. They're trying to put together a good product that they can be happy with and their clients will love. But the reality is, when push comes to shove in those situations, that sales rep, who may be awesome, and my sales reps were amazing, they just had their hands tied. They could not do anything. So somebody above them had to make that decision. And they are representing the builder. So we as realtors represent the buyer, and we can really do some work there to help negotiate and work through some of those problems.
For sure. And there's sometimes it's them correcting the issue. Sometimes it's them compensating for the issue. There's different things that can happen to resolve and make sure that everybody's happy. And there are issues that come up. That one, I had one where we were right before closing, having the home inspected, and a whole section of roof tiles was completely left off the home. It was just underlayment exposed that you cannot see from the naked eye. You had to get up there and see. And because our inspector brings his drone, he was able to identify that area. We had a team member who was closing, having the home inspected, and a whole section of insulation was left out of the house that our inspector was able to discover. My dad has that same story where for a year, his entire attic, not one ounce of insulation was blown in.
Can you imagine paying your utility bill in the summertime in Arizona with no insulation in your attic?
It was horrible.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. And so,
but you don't necessarily know because it's a new home and you don't know what the cost is going to be, right?
And you don't know what you don't know, right? As a home buyer.
Consumer,
it's funny. And I know, I don't take this the wrong way, but I have people that say to me all the time, well, I've bought and sold 4 homes in my life. Mm-hmm. And I want to say to them, that's awesome. We did that last week. And so having that experience and knowing how to have those conversations and walk through that. And again, just having someone that can look out for your best interest and advocate on your behalf is so important because those issues do happen.
To that point, I was doing some math the other day. Just the 3 of us in the last 3 years have sold almost 350 homes.
Yeah.
Compared to the average consumer who does it once every 7 years. So there's a huge advantage that you have by selecting somebody that knows what they're doing and has that experience.
So it costs you nothing. It's only a benefit to have somebody there to look out for your best interest. And then the other thing that I would add that's a benefit to having a realtor when you do decide to buy new is our ability to consult with you and help advise you as you make those choices in that process. Because there are things that are great to spend money on and things that you can do after the fact. And again, it's up to you. We're here to provide you with that information, but we have a ton of information and a ton of resources to share with you.
Yes.
So much so that we've even put together our tips and tricks and best practices for our clients that do decide to walk down that road and buy new build.
Yes.
I thought we could jump in and maybe share a few of those.
Let's do it. Well, one of them is to actually inspect the home. Okay, so a lot of people don't think that an inspection of a new build is necessary because everything's new and everything's just built, right? Well, that's not the case. In most cases, the inspectors are going to find something pretty significant. Some minor things for sure, but some significant things that we just talked about. So that's really, really important. And so what we recommend, and just so you know, in most new build situations, you're going to have the ability 1 year after you've lived in the home to do a year inspection, which is really good because then it gives the home time to settle and you've lived in the home now. So you're going to be able to pick out a lot of things that aren't right over time. But one of the best times to do an inspection on new construction is right before drywall. So the frame is up, all the rough-in plumbing, all the rough-in electric is done, and the HVAC system. So then the inspector can really dig in and look at stuff before some of these things are permanently covered forever, whether it's with drywall or roof tiles or flooring. They can really dig in and look at that and then correct it right away, or at least suggest that certain things be done. So
and a lot of the inspectors will do it's one price and you get both inspections included, which is really cool.
Yes.
Also, to piggyback on what Ryan was saying, so when you go to the design center and you might have this custom barn door, you want to make sure that there's some extra bracing, and we kind of caught that on ours, and so that's a great time to make sure.
You mean the header?
The head, yeah,
Nice.
just some additional. So just little things like that. Anything that you're adding to your home from the design center, that you have that option and the inspector to go out and just take a look at it to make sure it is adequate.
I love that.
Good.
Well, and I love to being able to have the home inspected. It's a neutral third party, has no vested interest one way or the other. And we then take that report and hand it over to the builder and say, okay, here's your punch list of items that we want to have addressed. Yep. I've had it where we've come for a final walkthrough and we're with our blue tape marking things up around the house. This legit happened just like a few months ago where the super and my client were debating on whether the issue that she was calling out was really an issue. And I had to get involved and resolve that. But needless to say, it was not a fun experience for her. She hated that because they were at odds, right, as to what was an issue. So having that inspector to be able to come in, again, that neutral third party, black and white, and just say, here are the items that need to be resolved. It just makes it so much easier and smoother. And you know that you have another set of eyes looking at your home. So
you mentioned cost. So usually the inspection is going to cost between $350 and $600. And that's the same for a resale home as well. But you said sometimes that price will be included in the pre-drywall inspection and the inspection right before you close, which is super important because then you can cut stuff off before you actually give them all your money, and now you have very little leverage. So.
Nice. One of the other tips that I would say, and we've all talked about this, is when you are looking at building that home and you're considering what options and what upgrades and things to do, is to walk through that model home multiple times. If that development doesn't have your model that you're buying, go find where it's at and go walk through it. And then take notes on what you like and what you don't like and what you want.
It's huge.
And have that prepared ahead of time so that when you go into that first structure meeting, you come well prepared. And then also going into the design center, I think Pinterest is amazing to look at and create those boards of what you like, right? You're gonna be at the design center for a long time. You both have done this very recently.
An 8-hour process.
Right. And it can get overwhelming and it can drain you.
It's exhausting.
And so knowing ahead of time, I really like this backsplash, this kind of countertop, these cabinets, these fixtures, these light fixtures, whatever it is ahead of time can really cut and save so much time in that process,
Yes.
right? And stress and all of that.
That's what we
Absolutely.
did. Our home was modeled 2.5 miles away in a different community. And I swear that I was in that house at least 30 times, whether I was showing clients or just going to check it out myself or showing some of our family members that came to town. But it was awesome. I mean, even little things like I measured the couch in the loft, and then we went and found a couch that was almost the same size. And I'm like, okay, that's going to fit and it's going to be perfect. So those little things like that are huge.
Absolutely. And then also at the design center, they have different levels of finishes. So if you have a budget in mind, the design center designer, they can keep you within your budget or as much as possible within your budget. So they know what each level is going to cost you. So for an example, flooring, they may have 10, 15, 20 different levels of flooring, different levels of carpeting, different levels of tile. So they'll have a really great idea as to what you need to stay within to keep you within your budget.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. They're your friends, and be honest with them about what that budget is. And then to add on to that, know ahead of time what are some of the things that you could, if it doesn't fall within your budget, you could possibly do after the fact. Right. So I think an easy light fixtures is an easy one, right? You can go, if you're really trying to watch your budget, let's go basic, and then you can upgrade those later on.
Yes.
Paint is another.
Paint. We did that. They were going to charge almost $12,000 to paint the interior of our home. And I'm like, heck no. So later I'm going to have my painter do it for probably half that. But what most builders will do is they'll put on a white or a light colored flat paint. So if you've got kids or pets, just be aware that every time they touch the wall, there's going to be something left on that wall that will be there until you paint over it, because you can't really clean that off with flat paint. So good luck with that.
Right. So I always suggest get your majors, get your flooring and your cabinets priced first, because those are items you probably won't want to change out because they are the higher dollar items. And then go from there, like your ceiling fans, your lighting, your window treatments.
So I'll tell you, I'll give a little tip on my experience. So we wanted luxury vinyl plank downstairs and a much better carpet and pad than what was offered for the price. So the builder prices on some of those flooring options were quite a bit higher than what I could get with another contractor. So we decided to get the cabinets done, and the kitchen was essentially done, but the flooring we knew we were going to wait. So we went base option on the flooring, which was a very ugly, almost urine colored carpet.
Oh no.
And this basic tile. Well, I knew it was going to be tough. We had it all removed the second we closed on the house, and then we put in what we wanted. And that was about $30,000. So in retrospect though, I kind of wish that we had figured out something that the builder offered and just gone with that. But my wife did not want tile with grout. And I totally understand that, because it's hard to clean and it's cold in the wintertime. Even in Arizona, it can get chilly. So we did the luxury vinyl plank that wasn't offered, and so you got to weigh those costs out. And for me, I was thinking, okay, what's it going to cost me to do that flooring versus what the builder's going to offer and what that cost is, and you weigh those options. So,
And flooring's hard because if you bust up with, that's a added expense and a whole mess. And
well, then you got to think about baseboards too.
Yes.
And that was a whole nother level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you brought up a good point. So if you know you're going to go in and replace the flooring, do it in the base grade carpet, as much carpet as possible.
Yes.
So the
Very
carpet
little
is
tile.
very little tile, because cost of carpet is a whole lot less expensive than tile. So just do your base carpet and then
Put it everywhere as much as
put
you
it
can.
everywhere.
And we've known this, but builders have to complete the tile. They can't just lay the tile down. They have to install it properly, and they have to put the grout in.
That's actually one of the things that we get asked a lot is, can they just leave it? I don't want that.
Yes.
I don't want that. I'm going to change it. Can we
floor?
just leave that?
Yes.
And the answer is no. They have to finish it.
I tried my best.
Right. We have several clients that have tried to.
So with permitting, you cannot get your certificate of occupancy.
Correct.
If it's not in. And that includes with appliances too.
So you want to get as little tile down. And most of
Yes.
the time in base packages, it's the wet areas. So it's the entrance, the kitchen, the bathrooms, laundry room, that kind of stuff. So yes, carpet is easy to get out. Tile is not so fun.
You guys, we could talk forever about new builds, right?
Yes.
There's so much to say. In order to wrap this up, let's just kind of share maybe some final thoughts, okay, on new builds, best practices, why you should have us there helping and representing you. I will go first, okay? Again, just having worked with lots of clients and getting asked this question a lot, like, Janine, we're considering a new build. Why should I have you? Do I need to have you there? Can I go look without you? So those are some of the questions that we get all the time. First and foremost, ideally, yes, you would have us there before you walk in to a new build. There are several builders that will not allow you to have representation if you visited that new home site on your own. Okay. However, we know that it happens that you're out on a weekend driving around and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a new development. That looks cool. Let's go check it out. I would encourage you to be honest with them. Hey, if this is something we end up liking, we do have a realtor. Is it okay that we come through? Most of the time, in my experience, and not always, but most of the time, the builders have said, yes, just have them give us a call, have them stop in. And then you can give me a call. You can call any of us and say, hey, we went to this neighborhood. We like it, whatever. So that's number one, right? Is you want to have your realtor there with you at the first visit, if at all possible. If not, be honest and open with them and let them know. Number two, again, and you kind of touched on this Monday, the builders have a vested interest in keeping us happy so that we keep bringing our clients back. Because that's another question we get a lot is who are the good builders? Who should I stay away from? And I will always be honest with my clients and not share any bias, but I will share experiences. I will tell them stories of clients that have had amazing experiences with builders and the ones that maybe have had some issues. At the end of the day, it truly is different. I could tell you XYZ builder, my client had a horrible experience over here, and my client over here worked with the same builder and had an amazing experience. Right. So you can't always judge that. The biggest part of that is just having representation, someone that can help advocate for you along the way. And then negotiation. At the end of the day, a builder will tell you that these are the set prices. It is what it is. And in our world, everything is always negotiable. And so there are things because of our relationship. I had one where just my client, I won't say where they're under contract, but they're under contract on a new build. And the builder gave my clients an extra $10,000 incentive because of our relationship, because of working with this builder in the past. They wanted to keep them happy, and I pushed really hard for them. So we were able to get that extra, whereas they wouldn't have had any of that had they not had me. So there are benefits that can financially benefit you too. What
Absolutely.
else? What do you guys got?
How many times have we gotten a refrigerator or a washer and dryer thrown in? Right. Or I just had one the other day, a $7,000 price reduction that they weren't going to give, but because of our relationship, they did. That was going to be the thing I hit on. I want to reiterate this. So when you are thinking about buying a home, I just had this happen not long ago. Some very, very good friends and clients, I was selling their home and they were thinking resale. And then one day they drove by this new subdivision that was near their daughter's school. So they just stopped in and checked it out. They had no idea that because they had registered themselves and I wasn't there, I could not represent them, and they found out the next day. And they were crushed because they wanted me to help them, but she also loved that home. So that was a bummer. And what I want people to know is if you are going to even look at a new build and go through models, give us a call. It is not inconvenient. That is what we do. And we're more than happy to meet you there, get you registered and walk through that process. And then you guys can go back as many times as you want. But that's a huge piece to this. Yeah. I want everybody to know.
I would agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What you got, Monday?
So I would say the biggest for me would be the time savings for our clients, and then also the new home sales reps. Because as a realtor, we're going to advocate for you, but we're also going to do research up front to make sure that those new builds will stay within your budget, because there's always a budget. And So with new builds, there's a lot of new builds out, but you don't know what you're going to end up at. Or you don't know if they're going to have that floor plan that you're looking for. They may not have the 3-car garage that you're looking for. They may not have that lot size that you can put a pool in. So we do a lot of research up front to save you time so that you're not driving all over town. Also with the cost, the pricing, we're going to do our research up front to make sure that that home with that square footage, the amount of bedrooms that you need, the 3-car garage stays within a base price under that 15 to 20%, that you're going to add for your options and upgrades. We want to make sure that we stay within that budget so that we're not wasting your time or the salesperson's time at the office.
Both of those things are huge when you are living out of state and you're house hunting here and you only have 3 days to buy a $500,000 home or more, right? So huge selling point.
Right. So let us help you save time.
Legwork.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We'll save time. We also have a lot of relationships with the builders around town, so we know which ones are, we can pretty much tell you kind of the base, the price ranges of certain builders, right?
Yep.
So we can save you time.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting into this list as we make other episodes and other videos. Some good tips we have.
Yes, we have a ton of them. So, gosh, I feel like we could keep going forever, but maybe this will just be part 1 of our new build conversation. Well, thanks for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe and share our podcast if you found it helpful. We would appreciate it. And we're always here for you. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. Make sure to follow or subscribe to the Home Selling Team on YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify to stay up to date with our podcast.